ladrones que quieren empezarse a vengar de la gente honrada. Hagan eso y no va a haber un tiempo de comida en las cárceles. A ver cuánto tiempo duran sus homeboys allá adentro.
Imagine two prisons so secure, so unforgiving, that the very thought of escape isn't just impossible, it's erased from the mind. One rises in the burning heart of Central America, built as a monument to a modern war on gangs. The other lies deep in Russia, on the bleak border near Kazakhstan, a place designed to bury men alive in silence. These aren't correctional facilities. They aren't even about punishment. They are machines of erasure. One is El Salvador's CECOT, its mega prison. The other, Russia's infamous Black Dolphin. Two worlds apart, yet bound by a single idea. Once you enter, you stop existing. Which of these fortresses is more terrifying? Which one breaks men faster? And what happens in the shadows where some of the most dangerous criminals on Earth are locked away forever? Let's find out. 1. The birth of a fortress. In the heart of El Salvador, where the struggle between government forces and ruthless gangs has long defined daily life, a prison rose from the ground like a fortress from another era. Its name, CECOT, the Terrorism Confinement Center. From the moment it was announced, it was not just a prison, but a symbol, a place designed to inspire fear, break the will of gang lords, and serve as a declaration of war against crime. El Salvador had been drowning under the iron grip of gangs like MS-13 and Barrio 18. Extortion, drug trafficking, and brutal murders stained the streets with blood, and for decades, no government seemed capable of controlling them. Prisons, instead of neutralizing these organizations, had become their command centers. Leaders behind bars directed assassinations and coordinated drug shipments as if the prison walls were nothing but paper. That reality shaped the vision of President Nayib Bukele. In 2022, he announced the construction of a massive new facility, one that would dwarf every prison built before it. Located deep in Tekaluca, in a rural valley far from the chaos of the capital, CECOT was designed to be the most secure prison in the Americas. By early 2023, it was ready. Its sheer scale, spanning 236 acres, ringed by electrified fencing and patrolled by the military, sent a clear message. This was not just a prison, it was a war camp for the country's most feared criminals. 2. Inside the walls of control. The first images of CECOT shocked the world. In February 2023, cameras captured the chilling transfer of thousands of gang members, barefoot, wearing only white shorts, their torsos covered in tattoos that mapped their gang affiliations. They were marched into the prison in long chains. Heads down, arms bound, they shuffled under the glare of armed soldiers and guards. For supporters of Bukele, it was the moment El Salvador reclaimed its dignity. For critics, it was the birth of a dystopian nightmare. Life inside CECOT is designed to strip prisoners of all power. Cells hold up to 80 men, packed tightly together on metal bunks. There are no windows, no privacy, no personal possessions. Lights remain on 24 hours a day. Food is rationed and water is strictly controlled. Inmates have no access to phones, televisions, or even family visits.
I feel bad because I seen my son the last time when he was 5 years old. He's 21 years old right now. I want to see him. I want to tell him, hey, don't do the same things that your dad did.
Bukele's philosophy was clear. If gangs once ran the prisons, now the prison would run them. Guards monitor every movement. Surveillance cameras track every corner. The prisoners are not individuals anymore. They are bodies, interchangeable and controlled. And in this design lies the very purpose of CECOT, to erase the aura of power that gang leaders once held and to grind them into submission. International human rights groups voiced alarm. They accused Bukele of turning prisoners into livestock, denying them dignity, and ignoring due process. Reports suggested that many men inside had been arrested on suspicion alone, rounded up during military sweeps with little or no evidence. Yet on the streets of San Salvador, people cheered. For the first time in decades, families could walk at night without fear of extortion or gunfire. 3. Shadows of blood and power. To understand why CECOT exists, one must look at the blood-soaked history of El Salvador's prisons. For years, penitentiaries like Izalco and Mariona were ruled by gangs. Guards dared not enter certain wings, where gang leaders operated like kings. They built their own economies, charging rent, smuggling weapons, and even orchestrating massacres against rivals. The scenes were apocalyptic. In 2021 alone, prison clashes left hundreds dead. Bodies mutilated, decapitated, burned. Violence so extreme it echoed the brutality of medieval warfare. To the outside world, it was shocking. To Salvadorans, it was routine. El Salvador was not alone. Across Latin America, prisons had become the true palaces of criminal power. Ecuador's Guayaquil prison, known as CECOT 4, mirrored the same horror. In 2023 and 2024, riots left dozens dead, while gang bosses ordered assassinations of politicians and journalists from behind bars. The murder of Ecuadorian presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio was traced directly back to gang leaders operating from prison cells. Against this backdrop, Bukele's CECOT emerged as both a solution and a warning. Where other governments negotiated with gangs or ignored the prison crisis, Bukele built a cage so vast, so strict, that it seemed to swallow the very concept of freedom. The debate of fear versus freedom. As CECOT filled with bodies, the world asked the question, does security justify sacrifice? Supporters hailed Bukele as a visionary. Crime plummeted. Extortion rings collapsed. For ordinary citizens who had lived under the shadow of gang terror, CECOT was proof that the state had finally won. Streets once haunted by fear now bustled with children, markets, and music. The mega prison was working, but critics painted a darker picture. Human rights advocates compared CECOT to a concentration camp. They argued that mass arrests targeted poor young men in marginalized neighborhoods, many of whom had no proven gang ties. Families wept as sons vanished into the fortress, swallowed without trial. Lawyers warned that indefinite detention without due process risked eroding democracy itself. Images of inmates crammed in chains, stripped of individuality, fueled global debate. Was Bukele a reformer saving his nation, or a tyrant building a system of mass repression? The truth lay somewhere in between. For many Salvadorans, safety mattered more than abstract ideals. To them, the price of freedom was worth paying if it meant peace. 5. A future. Written in concrete and ironed, today, CECOT stands not just as a prison, but as a symbol of a nation's gamble. For El Salvador, it represents the triumph of state power over criminal empires. For others, it is a warning of what happens when fear governs justice. The fortress looms with its watchtowers and electric fences, housing tens of thousands of men who once terrorized a country. Inside, silence reigns, not because peace has been achieved, but because it has been enforced by concrete and iron. Yet questions linger. What happens when gang leaders adapt? What if the next generation of criminals learns to thrive even under such conditions? And what of democracy when the rule of law bends to the will of a strong man? In the end, CECOT is more than a prison. It is a reflection of the eternal struggle between order and chaos, between freedom and security. For some, it is salvation. For others, it is damnation. And for the world, it remains a chilling reminder. When crime becomes unbearable, nations may turn to cages so vast that they swallow not only criminals, but also the very soul of justice itself. Black Dolphin, Russia's Siberian tomb. On the other side of the world, near the border of Kazakhstan, stands Black Dolphin Prison. Its name comes from a grim sculpture of a dolphin at the gates, an ironic monument to one of the most brutal prisons on Earth. Black Dolphin houses around 700 inmates, each convicted of crimes that shock the imagination. Serial killers, terrorists, child murderers, cannibals. Their sentences are not measured in years. They are measured in eternity. Life without parole. No one has ever escaped. The regime here is one of absolute psychological warfare. Inmates are blindfolded during transfers, bent at the waist, hands cuffed behind their backs, escorted by multiple guards. The disorientation ensures they never learn the layout of the facility. Cells are triple-doored, monitored by cameras and checked by guards every 15 minutes. The lights burn constantly, ensuring prisoners never know true darkness. The rules are relentless. Prisoners rise at 6 in the morning and must remain standing for 16 hours a day. Sitting or lying is forbidden except during scheduled sleep. Meals are basic soups and porridges. No news, no radio, no television. The outside world does not exist. Here, the goal is clear. Break the spirit, erase the mind. As one former warden explained, compliance comes through exhaustion. 2 philosophies, 1 purpose. Though they are born of different eras and governments, CECOT and Black Dolphin share a chilling logic. Total control equals total security. CECOT is spectacle. It is a weapon of politics as much as punishment. Bukala himself parades images of tattooed gang members crammed together in cells, using their imprisonment as proof of his power. The prison exists as both a fortress and a stage. Black Dolphin, by contrast, is shadow. No parades, no public displays. Here the inmates vanish into silence, buried so deep that they become whispers of fear rather than symbols of defiance. But both prisons arrive at the same conclusion: disappearance. One erases you in a crowd, the other in solitude. The faces behind the walls at CECOT, the population is dominated by MS-13 and Barrio 18, gangs notorious for their cruelty. Many prisoners are killers who left trails of bodies across El Salvador. Tattoos cover their faces, their arms, their skin, marks of loyalty, violence, and death. One gang leader, known as Psycho, once described the reality from inside CECOT. They think it's power, but it ends here, in a place like this, forgotten. At Black Dolphin, the monsters wear no tattoos, but their crimes are etched into history. Alexander Pichushkin, the chessboard killer, claimed 60 murders. Mikhail Popkov, a former police officer, confessed to killing over 80 women. And cannibals like Nikolai Jumagaliev lived off their victims.
I was coming home from a party a little drunk. Another guy, also drunk. We started arguing and got into a fight, and it turned out he died. I dragged him to the bathroom and started cutting him apart. I cut off a piece of meat from his thigh and boiled it. I tried it, didn't like it.
These men are caged not just to protect society, but to prevent their very existence from poisoning the world outside. In rare interviews, some speak. One prisoner said, "You forget what you are." Another, after decades behind the walls, described life as breathing without living. Final verdict. Both CECOT and Black Dolphin test the limits of what a prison can be. CECOT is modern, loud, designed to terrify gangs into submission. Black Dolphin is ancient, quiet, designed to erase criminals from memory. One thrives on spectacle, the other on silence. But which is worse? CECOT crushes individuality under the weight of thousands. Black Dolphin isolates until identity disintegrates. Both strip away humanity, one through mass confinement, the other through total solitude. In the end, the answer depends on your definition of justice. Do we measure it in lives saved outside, or in dignity lost inside? Because both prisons whisper the same truth. Once these doors close, you don't come back. They are not prisons, they are warnings. Warnings carved in concrete and steel. Warnings to those who cross the line, and to those who believe the line can never move. In places like these, survival is not living, it is enduring. If this story gave you a new perspective, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Your support helps us uncover more untold stories from around the world, stories that matter.